Hello, it's me here, and I'm going to be taking you through the NNXT sampler for the task that we're doing for GC3. If you've got the assignment brief there, I'm just going to go through each of the areas that need to be assessed in the task analysis and show you how it's done. Okay, so we're in the Reason software, and we've got a mixer already added in. So we're going to bring in an NXT sampler. As always, we right click, NXT Advanced Sampler, and when it loads up, all right, we're faced with this sort of condensed version of the sampler. We can open it up, but we'll get onto that bit in a little bit. All right, so what we're faced with first is a very, very basic panel. And what we use this for is for adding things like whole sample patches and editing the global controls. As you can see, we've got controls over the filter and the amplitude envelope and some of the modulation envelope. We've got some pitch wheels and modulation wheels, and we've got the patch browser here. So what we're going to do, the first thing that it says on the assignment brief is importing sample patches. That's dead easy. When it first sort of loads up, the sampler hasn't got any patches at all. In version 5, Reason 5, I think it does sort of come in with a piano patch, but that's simple to sort of get rid of. If you sort of right-click the device in, not over a control, there is an option there to initialize patch. If you do that, it'll clear all the samples, and you're sort of ready to start from scratch. So importing sample patches couldn't be easier. All right, we've got the browse browse patch button, which is there, and it's common on all devices. Just click on that, and up comes the sort of patch browser. I had to grab it from the other screen. I'm in the studio at the moment, which has got sort of two screens, and it's just popped up over the other screen, so I'll sort of bring it over here. And here we can sort of browse through any number of different patches. If it sort of pops up somewhere that you're not familiar with, if you click this icon here, which is find all refills, it'll take us back to the top directory for the refills. And if we go to Reason Factory Sound Bank, NNXT sampler patches, not other samples, you can bring NN19 sample patches in here as well. So if we just click on there, and we've got different sort of sampler patches. Let's have a look at pianos. There they are. Bright piano. Let's bring that in. All right, you can see that the display now has altered to bright piano, which means that there are a number of piano multi-samples in here now. So if I just play a chord, all right, there's a sample patch, and it's just as easy to go and get a Rhodes electric piano. And there's any number of different patches that we can sort of bring in. As I said, you can also bring in the NN19 sampler patches on here as well. So if we go and get an organ, any one of these will do. Let's have a look at this one. Brings it in. Okay, and we've got the global controls here, where you can sort of alter things like cutoff frequency and the attack and decay and release of the patch. All right, that's the second thing on the assignment brief. Editing the global controls here. So if I want to change the filter frequency while playing a chord, I can do this. Or if I want to change the attack of the actual sound, I can do that by moving the attack up. You'll hear the sound slowly fade in, as opposed to a fast attack. All right, there are options to edit those parameters on the more intricate panel here, but these global controls here can do a little bit towards editing some parameters. Okay, so that's editing, importing sample patches and editing global controls. What I'm just going to do now before we move on to the next sort of bit, I'm going to initialize the patch again, all right, and that gets rid of any sort of sample information that's already in the sampler. So if I press the keyboard now, you won't hear anything. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to edit key zones from scratch. So if we open up the advanced panel, all right, we can see the full device in the window here now. This sort of part of the display is where we sort of add key zones, we edit key zones, and at the moment there's nothing in there. All right, it doesn't sort of add key zones straight away. So what we need to do is add them from scratch. So if we right click, add zone, all right, you can see there now that a zone has been added, and it's the sort of full length of the keyboard. There's no sampling there at the moment, but what I can do is I can just sort of edit these boundaries just by grabbing the sort of bands either end like this, or as you can see sort of down here I've got the low key and the high key boundaries that I can sort of move here if I so wish. All right, but I find it easier sort of moving these sort of, it's very graphical, it's easier to sort of see. You can grab these boundaries and move them wherever you want. So you can have a sample which only sort of spreads across a few keys or one key. You know, you can actually overlap these key zones as well. If I add another one there now, add zone, you can see there that this one is defaults to the full spread of the keyboard. But what I could have it on totally different keys as the first key zone, or I could have it the same, or I could overlap some of it and not other bits of it. All right, and these are always totally editable at any point. Okay, so I've added key zone, I've changed the key zone boundaries. Let's have a look at the next thing, which is importing individual samples, and this couldn't be easier. All right, you click on the key zone that you want to add a sample to. Now we've been adding sort of sample patches on this browser up here. Now we don't want to use that one now, we use this one here on the advanced panel, the load sample. So if I click on that, it'll open up the browser. All right, I can have anything to it. It's just a WAV. All right, I can add any WAV that's currently on the hard drive. Reason does provide you with lots of different samples to use. Currently in the drum kits, but let's sort of move up. Let's have a look at other samples, effects and Vox. And if we just go through, we've got autoplay initialized. Alright, I kind of like that one. So we'll open that, and you can see now that that sample is being displayed in the sample display. Alright, which means that when I sort of press a key within this key boundary, which goes from E2 to D3, right, let's just make it a bit more obvious. Let's just go from C2 to C3, so I'm spanning a full octave here now. So if I press any key within there now, alright, I'll play that sample, and it's according to pitch. So that sample will be pitched across the keys, alright, depending on where the root key is. Now the root key is the little sort of shaded key here. What the root key is what key the original sample pitch and length sort of plays back at. So you can sort of see it there, but you can edit it with this control down here. So if I move the root key here, just by grabbing it and moving it, you can see that the root key is moving. Alright, so if I have the root key down at C2, right, that means that at C2, the lowest sort of boundary of the key zone, that's where the original pitch of the sample is going to be played. Alright, and if I play it at the other octave, alright, you can hear that sample, it plays back quicker, it plays back